I know it's frustrating for truckers out there, and you're probably really frustrated sitting in traffic. And if you're watching this, you're thinking how frustrating it really is. But they really are. They've really come together well. From the meetings that I've been on, from the 2 days after this happened till now, they've really hit this problem head on. I think the folks that sometimes frustrates us, the bureaucrats and stuff that we get frustrated about, I think they're earning their pay right now, and they're doing a really, really good job. And they definitely understand how important truck transportation is and tractor trailers and what you all have to deal with out there on the road.
Landline now. Welcome back. On Tuesday, March 26, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which carries Interstate 695 over the Patapsco River in Baltimore, Maryland, was struck by a container ship and collapsed into the water below, killing 6 highway workers who were on the bridge doing road repair work. Since then, highway traffic has been diverted onto other roadways, and the Port of Baltimore has temporarily closed. The situation continues to develop, with federal and state agencies, the port, and others working together to address the situation. As those federal and state officials meet, they've realized they need to have someone from trucking involved in the discussions to ensure minimal disruptions to the supply chain. And the group they've invited to take part is OOIDA. OOIDA Executive Vice President Lewie Pugh has been part of those discussions on behalf of the association and truckers, and he's here with me now with the latest. Lewie, thanks for joining me.
Hey, it's great to be here, Mark. Always enjoy.
So basically, late last week, you had a meeting with several federal and state agencies. Which ones were involved?
Yeah, on this one, this is the third one I've been a part of, and this is the first one that it's just been us. In the past, they've had larger meetings with everybody from shipping and rail and air and trucking and just all transportation, bus, anything you can imagine, like 100 people or more. And of course, I like to talk, so I spoke up at all of them. So this one here was sort of one of the things that they reached out to us because it's a concern that I've been bringing up since this all started, and that's parking. And you're going to have more parking, of course, an emergency with this because of all the delays and the traffic and all this other thing. So, yeah, DOT and FMCSA and Federal Highway reached out to me the other day and asked if we could get together and have a meeting. So, of course, I agreed, and we did. And it was us, Federal Highway, myself, folks from Federal Highway, from FMCSA, and then also from Maryland, DOT of Maryland, and part of Maryland Transportation Authority and stuff. So.
Let's talk a little bit about the parking situation there, because obviously with all this diversion and people being stuck and having to go around longer routes and everything, it's pretty obvious to anybody involved in the business that there's going to be some real tangles. Were there specific solutions or possible solutions discussed at this meeting for the parking problems?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the good thing about this is, because like I said, in these greater meetings that we've had in the past, I have asked for a few things for them to think about and to do to try to help alleviate traffic and make this as easy as they can on truckers. But, we haven't really, I just, said you need to be looking at alternatives for parking. Well, this time that's what this conversation was about. I don't like to use the word surprisingly, but I guess in this case, because I think these people are working really hard. And I mean, they got a real mess dumped in their lap right away. And, nobody knows how to plan for these things, unfortunately. I mean, you practice and practice and practice until something like this really happens. But really, I mean, I think we should all be happy and impressed. They have really got it together. They have already started looking at parking. They're really watching traffic flow. We had a lot of charts and stuff there. They're talking about traffic, how traffic's moving, how much more percentage of traffic's moving through the tunnels and going around. They're watching the traffic, like the alternate routes, like going across 50 and 301, how much more traffic's over there. They realize that when it comes to this parking, not only do they need more parking right there in Baltimore Metro, but they've actually started they've partnered with the Eastern Transportation Coalition and other states around Maryland, up into New York, Virginia, Delaware, New Jersey, and in Pennsylvania, because, of course, there's people coming to town trying to get out to tell them too, like these routes, your major routes that get you to Baltimore, let's be thinking, and you guys be thinking, if you can add additional parking somewhere. They're looking at state-owned land, federal-owned land where there's already parking. They've reached out to like some private business associations in Baltimore and other places to see if they can offer up. They've reached out to universities and colleges. The ports, of course, they went into ports and like, hey, if you got any empty area in these ports, we need to set aside some of this for trucks to park. Actually, another cool thing, and I say it because I'm a member, but I guess the American Legion in Baltimore, I've never been there, but apparently they have a decent sized parking lot, and they like volunteered parking for truckers as much, I guess the way they said it'd be a limited amount, but they said that truckers could use their lot. So, the big box stores, just warehouses, just all kinds of stuff. Wanted to know what we thought of that, what they are doing, if we had any more suggestions or ideas of other ways they could go. So, like I said, it was a very impressive meeting. I think it's helped that for the last couple years or more that OOIDA, for the last 20, we've been beating the drum, but it's really, this parking stuff has come to the mainstream the last few years. So they're already aware that there's already a problem, and this is just exacerbating the problem even worse. And so they got some good ideas, and they've really implemented some well thought out plans very quickly.
You mentioned some of the alternate routes that truckers are having to take because of this closure. And, of course, that is a major crossing right next to a major facility that truckers have to service at the port. I'm wondering, are there specific areas due to those highway changes where they're seeing a special problem greater than others?
Yeah, that's what was interesting on the flow charts that they had that I was watching. Not only did it show the impact of the more traffic, but the speeds. It was interesting to see, like, some of the routes they showed, like the outer belt going around Baltimore on the east side, or the west side, on the west side of everybody. If you got hazmat or whatever, you can't go through the tunnels, so you're going to have to go around the west side now instead of the short way around the east side. Like during rush hour in the afternoon, the speed, these are all averages. Okay, so the average speed at the time would be 40 to 50 mile an hour at those time frames in the past few months. Since this has happened, the average speed is like 25 mile an hour during afternoon rush hour. And we're seeing that in other places too. I mean, because it's like you watch those charts and, traffic through the day, and they just have a little dip. I mean, as a trucker drive around there, I was kind of surprised because it seems like you're going slower than that for a while, but I understand it's charts and it's all averages. But boy, now it goes across and then it does a big old horseshoe at those rush hour times, and then it comes back up. And so they understand that it's taking drivers a lot longer, and it's going to make drivers run out of hours. But yeah, it's very interesting. And my understanding from what they told me was they've been really, really focusing on the Baltimore traffic and the areas around there. Now they're kind of branching out to watch the traffic on the alternate routes and different ways to go. But they also, which they brought up a good point, because of course, trucks and trains and stuff can still get into the port, but boats aren't getting in there quite yet. And when the boat traffic starts coming back in, they feel that there's probably going to be more shifts, because right now it's traffic shifted one way. And then when the boats and we start getting the ports back up and things start rolling out of there again like they were, then traffic's going to shift another way. So they're trying to remain really fluid in this, which is what they need to be doing, of course, and having different things different where, and try to, they showed me the chart of parking places now, like where they are, where the hot spots are, which none are really surprising anytime we see those kind of charts. But they're looking now to where there's going to be new hot spots where there weren't and stuff like that.
One of the things that I don't think we can stress enough here is you mentioned some alternate routes, and especially for those truckers who aren't actually going specifically to Baltimore but are trying to just get through that area. You mentioned 50 and 301. And just for folks who haven't heard our previous coverage or maybe are going through there and aren't as familiar as you are with it, can you kind of walk people through that alternate route just so they know?
Yeah, if you don't have to go to Baltimore, and might as well I tell anybody, if you don't have to deliver from north of D.C. to the Delaware line on 95. Probably your best bet. And I mean, I used to truck over there all the time, and I haven't been over there for 6 years now trucking, just to be fair. So maybe things have changed. I'm sure things have changed a little bit. 50, you can always get on 50 over on the Beltway of DC on the east side and run it over to Annapolis and cross the Bay Bridge, and then you get on 301, and that'll bring you out up at Delaware at the line. And I mean, it's good running. It's 4-lane, and going through Maryland, it's 4-lane. There's some cross roads and stuff like that. It's not like a complete interstate, but it's still pretty good running, especially in the evenings and stuff like that. And it's good road. So, to me, it would make more sense to go that way than to go up through Baltimore. And I think I looked at the miles on the computer, and if I remember correctly, especially if you got hazmat on and you can't go through the tunnel, but you could, it's almost identical, same amount of miles as going up to Baltimore and around the west side, because it's so much longer around the west side of Baltimore on the belt on 695. So, and when you don't have to mess with that traffic, you don't have to mess with Baltimore and any of that other stuff. That's something to keep in mind and think about, of course, and there's plenty of websites and stuff out there you can kind of go in and look at traffic and stuff. But again, I know it's frustrating for truckers out there, and you're probably really frustrated sitting in traffic. And if you're watching this, you're thinking how frustrating it really is. But they really are. They've really come together well. From the meetings that I've been on, from the 2 days after this happened till now, they've really hit this problem head on. I think the folks that sometimes frustrates us, the bureaucrats and stuff that we get frustrated about, I think they're earning their pay right now, and they're doing a really, really good job. And they definitely understand how important truck transportation is and tractor trailers and what you all have to deal with out there on the road. I say this anytime we talk about is, the biggest thing to remember, and they asked this of me to say this too, is just to please try to be patient, calm, cool while getting through there, because that's the other thing that's happened. And I'm not saying this is trucks, because we know who causes most of the accidents. Accidents have really freaking shot up over there. But, we all know that people in cars get, they don't want to follow a truck. They hate a truck. They get very impatient and do dumb things. So just try to leave an extra room and try not to get upset when they do dumb things. But yeah, that's a bad thing. There's been a lot more increase in accidents. But they mentioned they didn't have any problem saying it's mostly the cars doing dumb stuff too.
Something we've just got 2 minutes left here that you mentioned earlier is the fact that truckers may be running out of hours in the middle of this mess. And I recall something, and my memory's a little addled right now, that they were talking about that exception where you can go 2 extra hours in adverse conditions. Are truckers able to use that provision in this situation?
I got to go back and look, and I apologize because I've been out for a week and a half at CVSA and some other stuff. But that's one thing that we brought up from the get-go was that 2 hours that you're allowed to out for adverse conditions, that's not supposed to be for traffic. It's supposed to be for something unknown. So they said if it was rush hour at 5 o'clock, that's going to happen. So I asked that they would be allowed to have that thing on. They have gave them some more driving time in Baltimore, but if I remember correctly, is they extended the amount of hours you could drive, but they didn't extend your 14.
Okay.
Which that makes it a little rough. But
at least people know.
Yeah,
and that's important.
we can massage that, hopefully, if it's not, and try to get them to give us that extra 2 hours on the other end. Because that's my thing. I said, when you're a trucker and you're going into this mess in Baltimore, this isn't your normal rush hour traffic, and who knows how long it's going to take. And they agreed, so see what happens.
Okay. Well, Lewie, I think we're running out of time a little bit here, but I want to thank you very much for coming down to talk with us, and hopefully we got people some information they can use.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and be safe out there, truckers, and thanks for what you all do. We appreciate you.
I've been talking with OOIDA Executive Vice President Lewie Pugh about discussions OOIDA has taken part in with federal and state officials and others regarding the reaction and recovery from the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore, Maryland. We'll be back in just a moment with more news and information. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.